Senator Ovie Omo-Agege may have been said to have taken the maize, but now the APC endorses him as the Deputy Senate leader in the race. And also today's focus will also be looking at the Coalition for Change, that's the C4C, and its presidential candidate, interestingly, dropped its petition against President Muhammadu Buhari. This is Plus Politics. Tonight, I'm David Alabi. Glad to have you join us. Now, the ruling All Progressives Congress has finally announced its choices of candidates for Deputy Senate President and Deputy Speaker. The party has adopted Delta Central Senator Ovie Omo-Agege as the Deputy Senate President, and Omo-Agege will now run alongside Ahmed Lawan, who is the party's favoured candidate for the President of the Senate. Tonight, I'm being joined by Francis Chilaka, a political analyst. Good to have you join us, Francis.
Thank you very much.
And also, we have legal practitioner Bernard Oniga. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. Now, the APC has already made its final announcement, its choices for Deputy Speaker and Deputy Senate President. What do you make of these choices, especially with regards to Senator Ovie Omo-Agege, especially in relation to the issue of the maize? At least we know the investigation done by the National Assembly Committee found him culpable, but well, as we speak now, no prosecution or conviction.
Well, I think it tends from the kind of legal system we have, where it said you're innocent until proven guilty. But then, that phrase seems to apply only to the poor masses, not to those in government, not to the rich and mighty. Because it's only in Nigeria where a man will steal a goat, or people would say he stole a goat, and he gets arrested and locked up. Yet, this same country where people would commit higher crimes and they walk free. No arrest. Yes, I remember that he was arrested by the police.
He's denied all of the allegations.
Yes, he denied it. But then, if we have to go by that he denied and he set free, don't forget also that he was suspended by a committee of the Senate for 90 days. So, where has that case ended? We didn't get a feedback.
How does this impact the 9th National Assembly, be it as it may, if this drug emerges as leader of our 9th National Assembly? Can you interpret the law for us now? Maybe there are loops and holes here that we are not necessarily focusing on.
Okay, well, before we go to legal interpretations, first and foremost, let's begin by saying that the legislature is an independent arm of government in a democracy. So it stands on its own, and it is intended at enabling the principle of what we call separation of powers. That is to ensure that the legislature, the judiciary, and the executive in the democracy work in such a manner that, in the interest rather of the average citizen of that nation. So if you have this kind of, what bothers me more is the level of interference by the executive in the affairs of the legislature. If Mr. President and the APC national chairman and the APC caucuses seem to be hoodwinking and insisting that their members...
It's just an endorsement, making the announcement of their choices. Elections will still hold.
It has gone beyond an endorsement. Have you not been watching the news, what is going on in Transcorp Hilton? Transcorp Hilton has turned into our legislative chambers. That is more than endorsement. Members of the Senate and of the House of Reps signing documents where I don't know what they want to do with those documents on the floor anyway, but I hope that this 9th Assembly...
You cannot deny the parties.
But I think you and I need to be on the same table. We need to understand that everybody that won election did not win as an independent candidate. They all came under a party platform.
The platform.
And the kind of democracy which we practice in Nigeria is such that the party is supreme. So the party has a right to decide who they want or who they think should come forward. So, but, having said that, my own argument is that the fact that the person the party has endorsed, for me, is a wrong choice.
So you fault it?
Yes, that is my own. Because if you can't tell me that something, a crime as much as the mace was stolen, and every finger pointed to one man, even though he claims he's innocent, and all of a sudden, the same party is now throwing him up as a deputy Senate president. It means we in Nigeria, or the leadership in Nigeria, so much loves mediocrity.
If I get you right, are you trying to say now that if the duo, the leadership now emerges, it is now going with the candidates of the APC, if that happens, are you saying the integrity of the 9th National Assembly is going to be questioned? Right
from the tenure of the former Senate President Saraki to date, the National Assembly has never had integrity. Okay. Let us say it the way it is.
Okay, now let's talk about endorsement versus votes. Now, as part of the strategy to clinch the seats, Femi Gbajabiamila has also offered 60 PDP members-elect chairmanship positions and deputy chairman of committees. Now, how does that sit with you, really, Bernard?
You see, I'll still go back to the point I was making, which is the fact that the legislature ought to be independent. Lobbying is allowed in advanced democracies. In fact, it is a profession.
But this level of having this exchange?
Ethical lobbying, there's ethics. It's an ethical profession. Even in America, on Wall Street, you have lobbyists. People saying, okay, if you give me this, I give you that, and this is what will happen. But listen, in our political climate, we do not lobby in the interest of the people. Our politicians lobby for their personal interest and for their pockets. Lobbying is allowed, but why is Femi not telling us what he would do in the interest of the generality of Nigerians? Who would the chairmanship of the various committees he is giving to the PDP members, who is he going to benefit? He's going to benefit their personal pockets. So I'm going back to the fact that if we really want to practice democracy in Nigeria, we must adhere to the principles of democracy. Albert, separation of powers. The executive, the legislature, and the judiciary must checkmate themselves. They must do so in an ethical manner, not necessarily by servicing their pockets. Apparently, what is happening here simply is that our national goods is being shared to individuals, and they are signing documents to take it home at the end of the day. So you're saying we
wouldn't have the representation of the needs of the people?
I doubt, and I am scared. Okay, I am very scared, and I doubt.
Quickly now, it is expected that we are going to have the elections done with secret polls. Now, that has also raised a little bit of fuss here and there. But what do you also make of this if we have the secret ballot method? Because as we rightly know, lobbies have been done here and there, and some surprises could always emerge. Look at 2015, for example. Femi Gbajabiamila did not emerge with just a couple of votes.
You see, when you talk about voting in a system that is faulty, there's not going to be any voting. No matter how secret you think that voting is going to be. See, the voting is already done. All they want is pronunciations. They want to make pronouncements as to who the winners are. So I personally do not believe in any kind of secret voting. Because if there was going to be secret voting, all this lobbying, exchanging of papers, and it wouldn't take place. People will just know that, okay, you're coming out, it's going to be secret voting. Nobody knows who's going to vote who. So people, what they would have done is to tell the Nigerians who voted them in, this is what my roadmap is as the Senate President or as the Speaker of the House. They're not doing that. They're not talking to Nigerians. They're just talking to themselves.
Vocal. They have been pretty much vocal.
To who? To who? Who are they being vocal to? To you? They're talking to themselves. Just that circle of senators and honorable. Some of them are going to go home with 4 million, 5 million.
No, 25 million.
25 million,
almost
10 million and all of that. Nobody, and they're not thinking about Nigerians who are earning less than 30,000 naira a month. So it's not about Nigerians. It's not about the people. It's about their individual, greedy, and selfish interest.
It's countdown to a few hours now till tomorrow, 10 a.m., and then we are going to have the 9th National Assembly inaugurated. But really, what do you make of this secret ballot method as well? What are the advantages here if we do vis-a-vis comparison?
Why would we be talking about a secret ballot process, whereby I just told you that yesterday in the Hilton, certain senators were there to append their signature to a document. We already know those who are going to vote for who. There's no secret about the ballot that is going to be cast tomorrow in that
You never
house.
know the intentions of people behind the covering. You don't know whatever I'm casting.
Of course. We would not preempt as to see who would emerge tomorrow. But we are only speaking from the feelers we are getting thoughts far and from the activities that is ongoing. It is obvious to everybody that, okay, Senator Ahmed Lawan seems likely that Senator Ndome is still in the race. And if you mind you, the PDP seem not to be speaking much. I don't understand what is going on, you know. This just seemed to be an APC affair. I am not saying that senators of the APC would not go into the House tomorrow. They have a right to vote for any candidate of their choice. But that is what we are saying, that there should be ethical lobbying. We should not see lobbying with in Transcorp Hilton. Come to me, come to my office, come to my house. Let me know your legislative agenda. And that legislative agenda must have an impact on the average Nigerian on the street. Until we begin to campaign or lobby in that light, every lobbying goes to waste because Nigeria is not in question here. We have people's personal interests and personal agendas in question. And I must say it is very worrisome and it is very sorrowful. Let me say this to you. This is the beginning of a dictatorship if we begin to have the executive dictate us.
That is your own opinion.
My
but
opinion,
now,
yeah.
let us also look at it. We are highlighting all of this going on within the APC. The same thing is also going on within the PDP as well, despite the fact that they form minority. But any surprises can take place, don't you think?
Well, I mean, we saw it with the 8th Assembly. It could also happen again.
Very well.
Yes, it could happen again. Like you said, PDP has been quiet, but I think they have a game. They have something up their sleeves. So, yes, lobbying has been going on. People have been offered positions and all of that, but it could also change overnight. I would want to believe that the senators could wake up, you know, go to sleep and wake up and decide that no, it is now Nigeria first. What I want them to do, what I want, you know, the senators to do, is to say it is Nigeria first. It's not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. This is where we should stand as a nation. But we're not doing that. Okay. It's all about people's individual pockets.
Okay, now let's take a look at the president's stance as well. He, in different speeches that he's made or given so far, he's lamented the sort of frosty relationship that he had with the executive had with the 8th National Assembly. We understand the principle of checks and balances. We understand the independent roles the three arms of government play, including the media as well as the fourth estate of the realm. But really now, with things panning out this way, do you think having a seamless relationship is in sight?
Well, let us get this whole thing sorted out. I think that the executive should know. They should follow boundaries. There should be boundaries.
Who draws the boundaries? Because at the end of the day,
because that is why we're saying the executive should allow the National Assembly to function as an independent body. See, the truth is this. If you have a National Assembly dictated to by the executive, then nothing would work.
You talk about the independence of the National Assembly, and that also brings to question their integrity and readiness to stand for the representation of the people. But let's also take a look at the 4.68 billion naira, which is supposed to be take-off allowance for these new lawmakers coming into these offices. So many people have called it outrageous. So many people say no motion has been sponsored, no bill has been passed, nothing has been done, and you're throwing this amount of money on the laps of people. And just like Francis said, minimum wage is still 30,000 naira. States cannot even pay. Sarah Budget and Enough is Enough Nigeria have all come out to say that all of these are unnecessary and the court should stop this action. Do you think the 9th National Assembly will do the needful talking about integrity, or it's just part of the system and that's what they're entitled to?
Let us be very realistic here and let us not criticize government just for the sake of criticism. Let us be very realistic. So the average senator comes from one of the constituencies.
They are representing the people.
Hold on, I'm coming. You know, so I live in Lagos, for instance, and I'm supposed to go to Abuja to serve your interests, for instance, you know, and I'm supposed to have an accommodation, and I'm supposed to have some sort of mobility. Now, an allowance, a take-off allowance is okay, but the amount is the problem. So a take-off allowance is okay because I need to stabilize, I need to eat. I'm serving.
There's just people. A few hours to go.
That's the point I'm making. So a take-off allowance, it's okay, but the amount and what it portends to our national economy, hold on, and what it portends to our national life, and also what it portends to the average Nigerian. Just like what you have said, 30,000 is minimum wage. What is the justification for a senator to go home with such a jumbo pay? And mind you, politics and governance is about, selfless service. It is estimated that before I go to the Senate, I must have accomplished some feat in my personal life so that I don't go living solely on what the government provides. So the government doesn't begin to foot my bills from head to toe. It is estimated that I am rendering a service and I get some sort of remuneration that enables me to render that service. It is not that government begins to take care of food, clothing, shelter, and everything for me. It is the greed which goes to the bogus amount in that budget and what it portends to the economy that we are criticizing. We are not saying that senators or our representatives should not go home with some sort of allowance to enable them settle in Abuja and live a life.
Will you say review this amount or stop it entirely?
I would say that we all got it wrong when the issue of monetization came in. I would want us. I wouldn't want the National Assembly.
This isn't an issue of the persons. Yes, it is the system
here.
I
want them to readdress that. That is what I want them to readdress. Let us have a system where the government, the federal government, has structures. They have houses built for senators, honorable members, judges, and all of that. When you are elected, you go there. That house is set to a standard. If you want to do any other renovation inside it, it's your own business. But in a country that is bleeding like Nigeria today, and some people are going to go home with 10 million, 25 million, and people are still not being paid 30,000 naira a month, there is no justification for that. So for me, I think that it is called to service. It is not called, let me finish. Review? It is called to service. It is not called to enrich yourself.
Review or scrap?
I am saying that it should be reviewed downwards. And that's why I keep asking the question, who determines how much our senators earn?
Who determines how much our senators earn? Would you say now these senators, so many have called their salaries, their entitlements, the language entitlement is quite interesting. Their entitlement has been outrageous.
Very well.
Who makes this call now? Who do we put the blame on?
Okay,
these are the individuals that make the law. The judiciary helps us to interpret it. So when we are looking for amendment, how do we go about it as a people?
There is a Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission, that also looks at what, for instance, the judiciary too also has an allocation from the national budget. So the legislature also has an allocation from the national budget. So let us assume that, and mind you that the Ministry of Finance is going to be the executive arm that would release that monies into the coffers of the National Assembly for disbursements to members. So I want to believe that that monies being quoted has been budgeted for. And let me also address an issue as to us having houses, residencies for our legislatures and the rest. It has always been. But as a country, we take 2 steps forward and take 6 steps backwards. The Obasanjo administration and subsequent ones sold those houses. And today, so when the average senator leaves his village or his town into Abuja, he is homeless. He needs to look for where to sleep. And he is there on a national assignment. And this is the responsibility of the government in place to provide him basic necessities at that point in time, So talking about the pay of our senators, I think it's a matter of conscience. It's a matter of conscience, really, at the end of the day, for our senators to sit back and question themselves. They have brothers, they have sisters, they have parents on the streets, and they are earning this much. Can we review it? So it will take a lot of moral obligation.
Okay, now as we are wrapping up conversations now, the matter of asset declaration is also very much important, especially as this leadership has been formed, because that has been the eye of the storm, the controversy, the back and forth. Now, this time around, it's a clean new slate, another 4 years. To what extent should we focus on this? So that we don't come back by 2023, 2022 and say person XYZ declared this and now we are having issues here and there.
The question you should ask that I would be interested in is who verifies all these asset declarations? Who verifies them? Nobody. I mean, what do you call them? The organization responsible for asset declaration. Who goes out to verify them? Nobody. So how do you take stock of what is not verifiable? The asset declaration should have been done before now. Nigerians it's our entitlement now. It's our own entitlement to know what you have. As a governor, as a senator, and as a honorable member, we have a right to know. But no, these things are done as if it's a secret. No, but you don't even get the information out. So it's an issue that needs to be properly addressed. We need to know when you file in your documents in declaring your asset, it should become something that is known to the public.
Okay.
And it has to be verifiable.
Bernard, what intrigues do you also expect now? It's counting down. It's just a few more hours to 10 a.m. Tomorrow morning, rise and shine. The 9th National Assembly is set, expected to go into action. What new intrigues do you expect, talking about the roles of the underdogs and a whole lot more?
Oh, very interesting question. You know, I wish our political climate was as exciting as it were in other nations. Then I would be very excited to answer this question.
In Britain?
But I would disappoint you what is going to be happening tonight in our nation. It's going to be a dark night, because what is definitely going to be happening is Ghana Must Go will be moving from one end of our nation to another. It is just unfortunate that that is the kind of nation we live in. You know, in other climes, you would see high-wired politicking and lobbying going on. People saying, support me because this is what I want to do, and if I do this, this is how it will affect the average citizen on the street or the average citizen in the workforce or in the public service. But unfortunately for our democracy, I'm not going to lie to you, that tonight is going to be a dark night. It's going to be a night where people are going to wake up tomorrow billionaires, I can assure you.
Okay, build men, build strong institutions. Which do we go for? Strong men, strong institutions, or how both?
We need institutions that would checkmate everybody. You see, look at Donald Trump of America, for instance. Everything he's doing, everything he's saying, but there's an institution on ground that corrects him, that brings him back to normalcy. We don't have that in Nigeria. We have no institution. Until we build an institution that helps checkmate when people take 1 naira.
We've seen the National Assembly give the president a run to make him convinced back and forth, and the president has also delayed with certain passages as well.
No. You see, the thing is, it's because the institutions are not working. When I say institutions that are working, it's not for you and I. When we sleep and we wake up, we'll put this into place. No, it is there. So when people get elected into the National Assembly, State House of Assembly, they have to find a way to fit into that.
What punitive measures should we have for those lawmakers, those senators, those representatives who are known for being absent, who do not engage in any sort of conversation, either in the green or red chamber? There is no representation. You look at how far the Brexit talks have gone so far. Well. You look at the representation of Theresa May, you look at all of the heckling that she faces, and she still stands strong, or she stood strong. What do you expect from these actors this time around?
It's very simple. We should begin to pay our legislators
a full house
per sitting.
Thank you.
We should pay you as you sit.
Pay as you go.
Pay as you go. That is the method we should adopt. And mind you, like I said, before you get into politics, which is selfless service, you ought to have made some sort of progress and achieved some sort of personal success. Then you come up and offer yourself to the people. You're saying, because I have been able to do this and do this in my personal capacity, I believe that with the instrument of government and governance, I will be able to do this and do this in the interest of everybody. So if you ask me, our legislators should earn nothing too significant. They should be paid per sitting, to answer your question. You know, as you sit and go, you know, I mean, that is what it should be. You know, some persons have advocated we don't need a two-chamber. That's a constitutional issue for another day. But for senators who even go there and sleep,
yes,
they sleep. That is to tell you the kind of people we have. And of course, mind you that some of them are also...
No, but you know, it's quite a tasking activity.
What is taxing? What is taxing? Don't forget that every senator has aides.
Very well.
That are paid.
Legislative aides that are paid.
This is the job of this legislative
I
aides.
just love the button I pressed there.
It is the job of the legislative aides
Okay,
to
gentlemen.
help in bringing them up to speed. So we should.
These are perpetual sleepers, and we should do away with them. If you ask me.
Okay, gentlemen.
As you go.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time, Bernard Oniga, a
My
legal
pleasure.
practitioner. It's been quite an interesting conversation. And Francis Chilaka as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the conversation continues in just a moment. We take a quick break. Don't go anywhere.